For many investors, portfolios are often built around what feels familiar. A few mutual funds here, some equity exposure there. But over time, this habit can leave behind important gaps. When we overlook the role of asset mix, the right combination of equity, debt, gold, and more, we risk missing the full picture of what our money is meant to do. That's what we are exploring in this episode of Nivesh Pe Charcha, the diversification playbook, with the theme What Most Portfolios Mix and Why Asset Mix Matters. Joining us today is Mr. Gaurav Jain, founder of Pratibha Wealth based in Lucknow. Gaurav started his journey with a simple mission: to help those around him live with greater financial clarity and peace of mind. What began as personal advice soon grew into a full-fledged wealth practice. Today, Pratibha Wealth works with over 225 families across 16 countries, managing crores in assets. Through his work, Gaurav aims to guide investors towards purposeful decision-making, where diversification isn't just about adding more products, but about aligning portfolios with life goals and financial realities. In this episode, he shares how asset mix often gets overlooked, why portfolios skew towards comfort zones, and how a multi-asset approach can help create more aligned outcomes.
हेलो एंड वेलकम टू ग्रो एएमसी। और आज हम बात करने वाले हैं कि ऐसी कौन से फैक्टर्स हैं जो मोस्ट पोर्टफोलियोज मिस कर देते हैं एंड व्हाई एसेट मिक्स मैटर्स। और इसके लिए हमारे साथ हैं मिस्टर गौरव जैन टू टेक दिस कॉन्वर्सेशन फॉरवर्ड। गौरव, वेलकम ऑन बोर्ड।
Thank you, Karanya, for having me over.
So let's get started. Over the years, क्या आपने ये नोटिस किया है कि कुछ इन्वेस्टर हैबिट्स जो होते हैं वो पोर्टफोलियो में कुछ गैप्स क्रिएट कर देते हैं in the way that they're built? Have you noticed any such patterns?
See, I think it's very simple. The way a portfolio construction ideally should happen is very similar to the way a home construction is happening. Say, for example, अगर आपको घर बनाना है, you actually just don't get a mistri and the bricks and the cement and ask this guy, okay, please, let's go ahead and do a construction. What you really do is get an architect on board, have a proper layout, then look at the designing part of everything, and then you start a step-by-step process. Unfortunately, most people, when they start constructing a portfolio, they go ad hoc. They don't have a real goal-based, thought process in mind or a strategy in mind. What they look at is just one thing, which is returns. And I think that is the single biggest gap which I have noticed in my experience of over 20 years being in the industry. Apart from many other, this is perhaps the single biggest gap which really I feel should be the first thing for an investor to start taking his portfolio ahead. Of course, iske beyond, people also get a little biased towards what they really understand. So the love and the awareness of a particular asset class is what really makes the entire difference, and that's what makes him stay invested or stay put in that comfort zone. So I think that is where the biggest gap comes.
But क्या आपको लगता है कि investors are open to the idea of investing across different asset classes, या फिर do they tend to stick to what they know?
See, I would like to answer this in a more psychological fashion, where all humans love being absolutely in their comfort zone, right? They just don't want to change if given a choice, and changing is the hardest thing, right? So I feel most people stay in their comfort zone and they don't really want to change. But the other fact is that unfortunately growth doesn't happen in your comfort zone. जब भी आप अपने कंफर्ट जोन के बाहर आते हो तभी आप ग्रो करते हो, whether it is in life, whether it in profession, or the same thing applies even to your investments. So the fact is that most people don't do it, but over a period of time, if I talk about the context that we are talking in terms of equity, in terms of the 4 asset classes, real estate, gold, equity, or maybe debt, unfortunately equity is a new animal in the room, and is wajah se they don't know it much, and that is why they really don't want to move away from what they already know, and hence I think they mostly stick to what their comfort zone is. But honestly, I feel the situation today is changing over a period of time. आप अगर देख रहे होंगे that the way our mutual fund industry has grown in the last 10 years, from almost 13 lakh crores in 2015 to almost 70 lakh crores plus today that we are talking, 70 lakh crores. And that is perhaps because people have started noticing the fact that they have to get out of the comfort zone. But yes, the shift is gradually happening, and that is purely because of awareness, purely because of the knowledge that people have started gaining, of course, through channels like these, through podcasts like these.
तो just to circle back, अगर कोई भी पोर्टफोलियो मेनली एक ही एसेट क्लास के अराउंड बिल्ड होता है, what kind of blind spots have you seen showing up eventually?
I think the single biggest blind spot in a portfolio is the fact that they become very, very highly concentrated. Just say, for example, somebody, for example, is doing only equity. He's got a good experience in the last several years. Markets have been doing good, and he becomes obsessed with this one asset class. So the problem is that concentration risk. Sometimes the markets will go up, sometimes the experience will not be good. So when the downturn happens, that concentration risk becomes so bad or so huge that the investor at that point of time is left with no option but to quit. So a good diversification across asset class gives him that peace of mind, because honestly, mera point, or rather the way I look at it, is that पोर्टफोलियो कंस्ट्रक्ट करने का इंटेंट बहुत क्लियर होना चाहिए. इफ द इंटेंट इज ग्रोथ, यू हैव टू गो ऑन इक्विटी. इफ द इंटेंट इज लिक्विडिटी, you can't have everything in real estate. And if the intent is income, then of course you have to have some bit of gold or some bit of debt into your asset mix. But you can't just do, जैसे होता है ना, हम लोग खाना खाते हैं, you can't just eat चावल, you can't just have dal. You have to have a balanced diet for a healthy you and a healthy portfolio. You need to have all asset classes at one point of time, because ultimately आपका अगर goal purpose fulfill नहीं हो रहा है, you will never be able to realize the entire you'll never be able to realize the entire true potential of your portfolio and your money.
All right, well said. But आप कैसे इन्वेस्टर्स को हेल्प करते हैं टू थिंक अक्रॉस डिफरेंट एसेट क्लासेस, इक्विटी, डेट, गोल्ड, स्पेशली जब वो यूज्ड टू है किसी एक एसेट क्लास में इन्वेस्ट करने के?
See, I think that is the single most biggest challenge which I face both as an investor as well as a advisor to some extent, because the fact is people love what they do. What they have been doing for so long, that has been working for them. So you need to really give them time. What I do, I sit with them, understand what they really want their money to do for them. The simple question is, बस आप अपने पैसे को क्या करना चाहते हो? Is it really growth, or is it, unfortunately people look at portfolio like a channel for creating returns. The goal is not to beat the benchmark. The goal is to create that corpus for your emergency. The goal is to create that corpus to send your child for a higher education. So uske liye you need to have a long session with that family or with that individual, counsel him enough, give him all the characteristics of what a gold is capable of doing, what an equity can do. Say, for example, equity comes with volatility and a risk to some extent. But if the timeline that he wants कि भाई मेरे को अपने retirement की planning करनी है अगले 15 साल बाद, will it really make a difference how volatile the portfolio is in the first 3 months of investing? Not really, because उसका गोल अलग है. But similarly, अगर किसी को अपने बच्चे की फीस एक क्वार्टर बाद पे करनी है, and if he is putting his money into a volatile asset class like equity, that is where the difference comes. So unfortunately, what people do is they look at, one size fits everything, or one answer to all my worries in life. Unfortunately, equity is not the answer to all worries. Yes, it can help you create wealth. It can help you get your goals, complete your goals to some extent, but that is not the answer to every goal that one may have. So that is why it is important to sit, discuss, educate enough, and then let the investor take the decision basis his risk profile. And that is where risk profiling and asset allocation plays the most important role in creating a portfolio and in helping that family get to their financial goals.
ओके गॉट इट बट ये बताइए कि इन्वेस्टर्स को क्या प्रॉब्लम या डिफिकल्टी आती है अपना जो एसेट मिक्स है उसको अलाइन करने में इन डिफरेंट स्टेजेस ऑफ लाइफ या जैसे जैसे उनकी प्रायोरिटीज चेंज होती हैं तो व्हाट मेक्स इट हार्ड फॉर देम टू कीप दिस एसेट मिक्स अलाइन?
सी एक्चुअली सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट पार्ट तो मुझे लगता है लोग जब इन्वेस्टमेंट करते हैं तो वो एक हॉबी की तरह शुरू करते हैं एंड व्हेन इट बिकम्स सीरियसली बिग, unfortunately they don't do this basic point which is called review. They unfortunately do that review but maybe in the wrong fashion. They don't rebalance the portfolio. Now tell me something, if my income is growing every month or rather every year, should my portfolio and should my strategy around the portfolio not change? My lifestyle is changing, my income levels and expenditure is changing every year. मेरे फैमिली के अंदर चेंजेस हो रहे हैं, सो आई कैनॉट अफोर्ड टू स्टे पुट इन द सेम स्ट्रेटेजी व्हाट आई डिड 3 years back. As an individual I have changed, as an individual my risk profile has changed, but if my portfolio is not rebalanced in the right way, we are making a blunder. So the point is, I think the single biggest problem what investors make while in a portfolio is they don't rebalance, they don't review their portfolio enough. Second, they just don't tinker with their portfolios thinking कि जो चल रहा है चलने दो. ऐसा नहीं चलता है. Because unless you put your head down, change your strategies at times, it will not give you the desired results. What did well maybe in the past will not always do well in the future. And that's why maybe you cannot do this alone. You need somebody to help you, to guide you and to handhold you during those volatile times. एंड आई थिंक तो सबसे बड़ा एक प्रॉब्लम इन्वेस्टर का ये भी होता है, कुछ भी चेंज किया तो टैक्स देना पड़ेगा. नाउ टैक्स इज समथिंग विच अ लॉट ऑफ पीपल वांट टू अवॉइड अनफॉर्चुनेटली, बट अनफॉर्चुनेटली पीपल just want to hold on to their winners and don't let changes happen in their portfolio. I think it's more like a mental block, but again every block can be cleared with the right set of counseling, with the right set of engagement and education. So I think I answered your question.
बट फॉर दोज जिन्हें एक ब्रॉडर मिक्स चाहिए और ज्यादा कॉम्प्लिकेशन भी नहीं चाहिए, हाउ डू यू सी अ मल्टी एसेट एलोकेशन फंड हेल्पिंग दैम?
SEBI have come out with this category called multi-asset allocation strategy or a fund, जहाँ पे बहुत ही simple है. A multi-asset fund basically talks about 3 asset classes: gold or commodities, rather gold, silver, commodities, equity and debt. So the way every time not gold will do well, not silver will do well, sometimes gold will do well, sometimes your debt will do well, and sometimes of course equity will. Problem with the investor is he will not be able to time which asset class to go for, which is best left to the fund managers. तो वो 2 काम करते हैं, इनफैक्ट 3 काम करते हैं. एक, right asset allocation as per their investment research, which is more professional. 2, they move in and around the asset class, it reduces their risk. And third, an investor does not necessarily have to pay tax, because आज वो अगर गोल्ड से पैसा निकाल के इक्विटी में डाल रहा है एंड इक्विटी निकाल के पैसा डेट में डाल रहा है और फिर से यही कहानी दोहरा रहा है, at every transaction he has to pay a lot of tax. So to avoid tax and have that peace of mind which everybody ultimately wants out of investment, because investments are not supposed to give you stress. Investments are in fact to help you become stress free rather and have a peaceful life ahead, not कि आज पैसा डाला तो उसमें क्या हो गया. And of course a asset class or a product like a multi-asset is perhaps a good answer for individuals who want return without much of action in their portfolio by themselves. And of course it comes at a benefit of not having to pay taxes also.
All right. Well, Gaurav, thank you हमारे साथ इतना डिटेल में बात करने के लिए on why asset mix matters. And thank you once again for taking time out for this conversation.
It was purely our pleasure to be around. Thank you so much.
This conversation with Gaurav Jain reminded us that building wealth isn't just about what you invest in, it's about how your investments come together. Many portfolios grow piece by piece, but without a guiding structure, they can lose direction. And that's where asset mix becomes key, because different asset classes behave differently over time and can play distinct roles in supporting long-term financial goals. In that context, Groww Mutual Fund has launched the Groww Multi-Asset Allocation Fund, a scheme that seeks to invest across equity, debt and commodities like gold and silver, all within a single portfolio. The aim is to bring together complementary asset classes under one framework, allowing investors to participate across market phases without managing each piece separately. The NFO is open from 10th to 24th September. As always, please consult your financial advisor before investing and read all scheme-related documents carefully. As we conclude, remember, diversification is not just a checklist. It's a way to bring purpose and perspective to your portfolio.
म्यूचुअल फंड निवेश बाजार जोखिम के अधीन है। योजना संबंधी सभी दस्तावेजों को ध्यान से पढ़ें। म्यूचुअल फंड इन्वेस्टमेंट्स आर सब्जेक्ट टू मार्केट रिस्क्स. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.